Hey guys, how's it going? This is Bill at HangaRatz, and what I'm doing right now is I'm pulling this piece of baffle off of the Faux Fighter. We're going to send it to the folks up in Alaska Airforms, and they're going to make it part of their PMA program. Kind of a cool deal. What they're going to do is they're working on a baffle kits for the early 172s, and they're going to bring it in to include the B model also. So I think B, C, D, E, F, something like that at least. So hey, sometimes you know, the world notoriety of the interweb helps you out. So they're going to take this part and work on the PMA project and make the parts available for other aircraft. So good stuff. Coming up, we've got the CiES or CiES. I'm not sure exactly how to say it, so I'm just going to spell it CiES. Fuel sender installation, and we're putting that on the Honey Badger 182 1956. So that's what we're working on. This is one episode you probably, if you own a 180, 185, 182, 120, 140, 170 maybe, this is one episode you won't want to miss. Hey guys, and we're back. So it's a different day and I'm wearing a different shirt, but what we're going to work on today is the Honey Badger. This is the 182. This is a ridden hard, put up what, but this is actually my plane. This is a project I've had for several years. I haven't been working on it because I've been working on everyone else's airplane. So what we're going to be doing today, we were in the final throes of doing instrument panel upgrade, avionics, wiring, blah 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 blah, all that stuff. And we're trying to get this thing going. But we were in the final throes, and I was getting ready to order a headliner and all that, and then I saw on the Cessna 180, 185 group, Skywagon group on Facebook, I saw that somebody was getting rid of their fuel gauges, their old fuel gauges. Now these aircraft are the old style where they have the mechanical fuel gauges up in the wing roots. So as you're scanning, as you're flying along, you have to scan left, right, up, and it's kind of annoying. So I thought, well, it is what it is. That's just the way it's got to be. Well, come back to this Facebook. Somebody was selling their gauges, and somebody said, well, why are you selling your gauges? You can't. You need gauges. So they indicated, they said, no, what we're using some electronic fuel senders and a fuel indicator, quantity indicator, panel mounted. I said, holy catfish, that's great. I did not know that you could do that with these old gauges. Now, the core of the product, in fact, I've got some of the stuff unwrapped here. Core of the product is, this is from the CiES company, and it's pronounced CiES, and these are all brand new manufacture fuel senders. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace these with replace the existing mechanical with these. These are all modern, beautiful stuff, anodized aluminum, stainless. It looks absolutely fabulous. It's a 3-wire hookup, pretty simple. So that's kind of cool. So those senders are going to go into the tanks. The second part of it is the indicator. Now the air indicator is an Aerospace logic indicator, and it fits a 2 1/4 inch hole. So this is the FL202, so this is for 2 tanks. Now you can get this for 4 tanks or 3 tanks or 5 tanks, 6 tanks, whatever. They make all different versions of it, and it's an LED barcode. I'll put up a picture of what the indication looks like. So we're going to put this where we took our vacuum pump out. When we put the 2 G5s in, we were able to remove the vacuum pump, so this is going to fill that hole. So this will be perfect. So that's Aerospace logic. And when you buy their kit, or not their kit, their equipment, it's full STC, all of the installation instructions, just a whole ton of paperwork, the AML, that's the STC and AML right there. This is the installation instructions and all that, 8130 tag. So everything from Aerospace logic. So that's kind of cool. And I'll put the link to those guys down below. But the key to it is getting into these tanks. So the CiES company, okay, it's spelled CiES, but it's pronounced CiES, like precise, C-I-C-I-S-E. So actually you could rearrange these letters and it spells CiES or CiES. But it's nice out of Bend, Oregon, and they go right in the end of the tank. Now the problem with these tanks is there's a big frickin' plate that goes on the end of the tank where the mechanical gauge goes into. So I ordered this and I thought, hey, great, I'm ready to go. And then after talking with the tech support, they said, oh no, you need the extra parts. So we got the extra parts. In fact, I haven't opened them yet, so this is going to be a surprise for you and me. We'll see what these adapters look like. And the 180, 185, 182, their tanks are a little different from the 172 tanks in that the neck where the mechanical gauge is actually extended out. It's a bolt-on. It's not welded into the tank itself. Okay. Hopefully I won't drop these. Now this is kind of cool. Let's see what this looks like. So here they are. Here's what the adapters look like. So this adapter will bolt into the tank. It's got stainless studs, anodized aluminum, and then the sender itself will bolt onto this, go into this, one way easy because it's a asymmetrical deal, and we'll get that figured out later. But that's the way it'll end up going into the tank. That's what you'll see in the tank, is that kind of setup, and then 3 wires. That's it. So when I do my headliner, I can actually get a headliner without these snogs on either side for the gauges. So it'll clean up my headliner quite nice. Be nice electric, all easy stuff. So I'm pretty stoked about that. That's kind of cool. On the Aerospace Logic, let's see if I've got it in here. It comes with a pre-made harness. So it's all wired up, and then it tells you, it's even got them listed as to which one is tank 1 and tank 2. And then the others are color coded for power, ground, and all that. So you can see we're going to have red and black. I think it's red and black is the red and black is power and ground for the gauge, and then we're going to have 2 wires for the 2 senders themselves, and then these others are optional wires. We're not going to be taking advantage of those. So we only have 4 wires that hook up from the D sub for the indicator itself. So that's kind of cool. All SDC. The sender unit and this sender package and all that this is all SDC. So that's kind of cool too. So all the paperwork's there. Nothing scary as far as paperwork and all that. So everything is set up that way. The other thing we're going to have, or the other thing you'll have to do is run some wire. So we've run some. Let's see what they tell you wire-wise. I think we've got 20 gauge in here. 20 gauge wire. So very light power wire. Now I kind of cheated a little bit. Okay, I cheated a little bit. I've got my wire run. That's probably going to be the hardest part of it. Is you're going to have to get into the headliner, or actually you don't have to get into the headliner. If you have a headliner in good shape and you don't mind having a cavity there where that fuel gauge was, you can basically take your wires out through your door post, the A-pillar, and then bring them up into the cavity here and wire it that way. What we're doing on ours is we're wiring inside the cabin, and then we're taking the turn in through the hole where that neck used to be. So that's the way we're doing it. 3 wires on each side. We have a positive, a negative, and a signal wire for each gauge. We have here, we have on the other side, and those go into the aircraft. So pretty simple stuff. I'm going to get busy soldering this stuff up, and then actually first thing I'm going to do is take off the filler neck. So the tanks are empty. We're in good shape that way. So on to the first part. We'll take the filler neck off. Okay, so see if the center comes out. Okay. So the center is out. So it's pretty simple. And the way this thing works, there's a little gear in here, a little gear in the back. It turns the shaft. And I believe this one here has a, this is a Rochester. There's actually a magnet. This is sealed, but that's the way that works. So anyway, we have one out. We'll have two out here in a bit. So if you're looking for a set of 182, 180, 185 fuel cylinders, I'm willing to get rid of them. Okay, now we'll get the filler neck out. I left a couple of screws in here so that gave me something to torque on removing the dial. So, and it was, those screws were full of goop or something. They were pretty ugly, very tight. So I only have two more to take off in the flange. And now I'm kind of wondering how the flange comes out. So we might take a little bit of a break in film. I don't know if it's going to fit through this hole. I don't know. We'll find out here. Okay, get the screw out. Cool. Now we want to get the old gasket off. It's stuck. Terrible. Well, I think what we may have to do is cut this. We'll tape off the tank and cut this in place. There's the old gasket, and this thing was leaking quite bad. 1954 date on it. Pretty cool. Jeez. Almost 70 years old. I got all the FOD away from the tank area, so I'm pretty cool with that. I think what I may do, no, I think we'll just tape that all off because that goes right into the bladder. So we'll gotta figure out how to get this thing out. Actually, I think what I'll do is instead of trying to cut this thing and all that, I'm going to slit this root rib, and then I can just get it out of there actually quite easily. And then that's my plan. And then what I can do is just put a little doubler ring on it. In fact, I can put a complete plate over it, rivet that on. I'll have plenty of access. So I think that's the way I'm going to go. So wish me luck. Got to tape off the hole first. Most important. I don't want to FOD anything out. Everything else is looking real good up here. Okay. Okay, so what I did there was I taped off the hole, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw, kind of got thinking about it. I can go cut this rib, and I've got to make a repair of the rib, and that's kind of a pain. I'm not going to use this casting anymore. This casting is junk, this filler neck, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half using a reciprocating saw. So what it is, I taped off the tank area, the tank actual hole in the tank where the float goes, and I'm going to bolt this filler neck back onto the aircraft. It's taped off, I can't get in there. I'm going to come in and slice it with a reciprocating saw. Kind of crude, but all we're cutting is just that casting, and I think it'll go pretty quick being aluminum. So that's my deal there. We have no wires, no fuel line, nothing in the way, so that's my goal there, is to do that. So putting screws back in. Boom, baby. Okay. Take this half out. Pretty thick wall. It's pretty stout stuff. Okay. Boom. Now we'll take the other half out. The remaining of those 3 screws back in. Now this is the install for a 1956 182. Some of the other aircraft may be a little different, but that's the way I'm doing it. This aircraft, it's a little crude using the saw, the reciprocating saw, but that makes it a 5-minute job. And when you're doing it by the hour, efficiency is king. Pick up my screw. In the area of the tank, the interior tank is still taped off. That's underneath this remainder of the filler neck. Okay. Boom, take that off. Take this off. So this is what we took out. We took out this big honking deal right here. Big monster. So, all set. Now what we're going to be putting back in instead of this big heavy casting, what we're going to be putting in is just this plate here. So, nice deal. And we've got all new gaskets, and we've got all new hardware. I bought new hardware for it too, so we're good to go. Dust that off. Take our tape off. Now what I'll do is I'll get in here with a little solvent. I'm going to clean all the, make sure we have none of the stickum on this. So I'll be back in just a flash. I'm going to clean all the schmoo off here. I can see evidence of fuel leaks for the past 70 years. And we'll get that all cleaned off. There's brown leaks, looks like maybe they had car gas in here. Some red, some old 8087, so we'll get that cleaned up, back in a flash. Okay guys, we've got the upper area for the gasket all cleaned and all that, so it's ready to go, ready to put the adapter plate on and the sender. So this is what the sender looks like installed as opposed to the original sender and all that stuff. So nice clean installation, a lot less, a lot lighter, probably I'd say almost half the weight. But what's nice here is we've got a nice modern sender. The plate is ready to go. I thought, well, what I can do is I can bolt the sender to the plate and then put it in as a unit. Just the same fouling issue I had taking the other one out. So what I'll do is I'll put the plate in, then I'll put the sender into it. The important thing on the sender is that you, as you can see here, your sender has to be going up and down. There's of course 8 bolt holes here. Could go on all sorts of different ways, but we want to go that way. This is, as I said, an asymmetric pattern, so it can only go in one way or the other. This is a ground wire that we're going to install per the wiring. So what we want is, if you see here the red CiES corporate logo, you want that at your 3 o'clock position. So that indicates that this is up. The label is kind of sideways now. So what you want to do is get that done. When you put the adapter plate in, you need to mark the top. So we'll mark 12 o'clock here with a Sharpie and get that set up. And I would hope the CiES folks mark that to keep it kind of stupid proof, but it'll probably reduce their calls from people like me. So right now we're going to put this plate in with all new hardware, get that going, and then we're going to put the sender in. This is again just temporary. The neat thing about these senders is they're a smart sender. They can go into either JPI, Garmin, all sorts of navigators and smart, I'll call it smart cockpits. So kind of cool. The indicator that we're using is just a dumb indicator. So I don't have a lot of that. I don't have that kind of equipment going into this aircraft. So we're just using the sender data for just purely level. But this could go into a smart computer type aircraft, we're using JPIs or Garmin systems for fuel management. So that's a nice thing about these senders. They're really, really great, very well made. So very impressed with them. So anyway, now we put the adapter plate on. Here we go. Okay, so I've got the gasket on. I've got 2 starting screws and whatnot. So we'll get this going and start screwing it in. So we've got the 12 o'clock position marked. Up it goes. Okay, now we're going to put our sender in. Again, we're going to make sure that this is at the 3 o'clock position. We already have the gasket on there, so now we should be able to come up through the slot here and put this in. Let's see, because I want to, in a pure world, I want to be able to get this in. In with wing attached and all that, and it's going right in. It's like poking in the eyeball. Let's see. Okay. Okay, that's all in. Looking good. Okay, now we're going to put our retaining screws for our sender in. 5 number 10, or retaining hardware, it's 5 number 10 nuts. And I'm using aluminum washers. Keep the corrosion down to a minimum, just because. And then I'm also adding a grounding jumper, so I'll put that on one of the studs and we'll terminate that to the inboard wing rib. So get that set. And now we tighten up the sender wires, or pardon, the sender attached hardware. And it's just 5 screws, or pardon me, 5 studs. And we're putting MS2365-1032 nuts on them with aluminum washers. It's because we're going onto an aluminum, anodized aluminum housing for the sender itself. Cool beans. Okay, we've got everything in place. So the sender install and all that, I guess if you're going from an aircraft that had a headliner, if you had a headliner in here, which you probably will, you're going to have to kind of get into the cabin side of the fuselage, the interior side of the fuselage, to get the different pieces and parts out. So it would be prudent, if you had a fabric liner, is to unhook it, pull it up where you can get access to it. If you have a molded in liner, drop it and get it out of the way. So that's going to take you probably a half hour of messing around to get that done. Then the actual installation and removal of the other parts, I would say in all honesty, 20-30 minutes maybe, something like that. It actually goes pretty quick. Very nice installation. This is what we have coming out of the sender. We've got the 3 wires here, and then we've got a ground wire we're going to attach locally to the airframe. So we only have these 3, and these 3 are going to hook up to these 3. So I'm going to do the soldering and all that. We're going to do it tomorrow. It's as I told you here, this down in Texas, we're going through a heat wave. It's in the hundreds, so we're moving kind of slow, and this is in the back of the shop. So that's what we got going on there. I'm going to get the other one done, and then tell you what, I'll see you tomorrow morning, and we'll do the soldering and hook up the indicator to the panel. But right now, I'm going to finish up the other stuff, and then find a cool spot for a little while before I get on to the other job. So that's what's going on. We'll see you guys for some soldering. Hey guys, it's another day, and today we are going to wire up the control head for the fuel system. So not really control head, indicator head. This is just a dumb indicator. It just shows the level of the tanks. It's made by Aerospace Logic out of Canada, TSO item, STC and all that. Nice little piece of equipment, very well made. So we're going to put that in our instrument panel where our vacuum, been a hot day, where our vacuum meter was, vacuum gauge. So we removed that because we put G5s in the whole vacuum system, so that's all gone. And we're going to put this in. So it's real simple to do, just 4 screws, just like any other instrument. I think what I will do is attach the cable assembly before I put it in. That way I don't have to reach up under there. It'll be pretty straightforward. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all the detail soldering up on the top here, get that all done, final. And then what we're going to do, just to get this show this operational for you, we're going to power this up temporarily down here, but it'll all be installed as you see it. So that's what we're getting ready to put this in from the back. So hang on, here we go. Okay, so we're going to go put this gauge in. It's pretty easy, especially when you have the windows out. Cool beans. These screws provided. Lots of wires back here. Woo! Always easier when the windshield's out. We took the windshield out on this aircraft because we ended up putting a Selkirk glare shield on it. We had to do some repairs on the upper area. The compass was mounted on the instrument panel glare shield. We took that out. The windshield was needing replacement anyway, so it helped us do a lot of our avionics work. So that's our fuel gauge installed. Boom, that's it. And then our wires coming down the south end. So now we're going to hook up a few wires and get going on that. That is the gauge head installation. Okay, that was the gauge. That was pretty easy. Now I'm going to solder the wires up top side. So I'll show you one side. I'll just do the fast forward through it, but you know the program. Then what I do want to have happen when we get all done is put a bit of a service loop in here so that if anybody has to come along later and remove the sender, they can at least get it out of the area and then disconnect it. I'm assuming this thing is going to last longer than the last one, so we'll see how it goes. But that's it. On to wiring the upstairs. Okay guys, we have wired the top. They're all final wired. We did a kind of a high speed on that for you guys. It's just wiring and tie wrapping, that kind of stuff, securing. That's the way I did it. Things we learned about this install is when you put the, if you have the wings on the aircraft, you're probably gonna have to cut your filler neck off, or your viewer neck off for the old gauge. So take that off. Then you're gonna put the plate on. Then you put the sender in. You can't put it in as one unit. So that's something that we learned there. Pretty simple though. You have to orient, make sure you get the orientation correct for the adapter plate. The guidance from CiES Corporation is that the red logo is at the 3 o'clock position. We've got that. That's all done. So everything's wired up that way. We have our Aerospace logic. I think that's what it is. Yeah, we've got our Aerospace logic indicator. It's just a dumb indicator, which is great for this aircraft. However, these CiES gauges can, senders, can feed into a smart system, a JPI, Garmin, whatever. And mud daubers flying around. So this works great for our aircraft. if you have a question, if you have any questions on the centers, get a hold of CiES folks. I'll put the link downstairs. The other thing too is you can't just take an old aircraft with one wire and swap out the sender. So you're going to have to go and do some more with regards to that for older legacy aircraft. Not a problem. It's just not a one-for-one for old senders. There's different stuff you got to do. Let's power this thing up and see what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to grab the camera here. I'm going to plug in the power supply and see what we have. And here we go. What do we have? Hey, check it out. That's a pretty good deal. Looks like our tanks are emptied. Who knew? Anyway, that's the Aerospace logic indication. So now we've got everything up on the instrument panel, nothing up in the wing roots. The only thing up there are senders, and they'll be buried under the headliner. Pretty cool. Okay, that's pretty well it. That's it for me. It's 98 degrees Fahrenheit. It's hot as heck. We're done with this thing. Thanks for coming along. If you have any questions, get a hold of the CiES folks. They'll be more than happy to help you out. I would say this is again another very easy, very straightforward installation and some real high quality stuff. So I personally think it's worth the bucks, and it's worth putting stuff in. We're going to go through a calibration. We've got to go through the calibration procedure with Aerospace Logic and the CiES stuff. So we're going to get into all the installation instructions on that. So that's where we are with that. Fuel system on the instrument panel where it belongs for an old airplane. So kind of cool. If you have, here's another one. Oh, by the way, like, share, subscribe, notify, HangaRatz. We're going to be up at Oshkosh, so we'll be milling around. You might see us. Say hi. I'm cool. I don't bother. I like talking to folks. So if you see me, say hi. I'll probably be slopping around, sweating like a pig. But so we will be up at Oshkosh. But definitely get hold of the CiES folks. If you have, here's something for you folks. If you have a Cessna 120 or 140 or 170 or the older 172s or whatever, if you want this kind of instrumentation capability in your aircraft and get rid of the wing root senders on your aircraft, get hold of CiES and encourage them to put your projects. They've got a ton of projects they're working on, but you know what? The squeaky wheel gets the grease. So tell them what you want, tell them what you like, and you know what? You never know. Hopefully they'll get this stuff for the older Cessna stuff, and this is a great thing. It saves your neck spinning around trying to check fuel and all that, and you've got 50, 60, 70-year-old mechanical fuel indicators. So this is a great thing. I love it. This is going to be great stuff. So HangaRatz out. Until next time, stay cool. Go ahead, get a cool drink of water, and we'll see you later.